Executive summary. The term biodigital convergence denotes the convergence of engineering, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology and cognitive science. While the concept is at least 20 years old, biodigital convergence has been turbocharged by the fast-paced changes and evolution of information and digital technologies. Innovations driven by biodigital convergences range from a significant contribution to the advancement of scientific knowledge in the life sciences to major developments in bioengineering, to the point that the body of knowledge and the range of applications of the latter discipline is very different than it was in the 1990s. In a world challenged by climate change and the need to ensure that a growing population is not only well-fed but enjoys a fulfilling life, the present and potential future impact of these innovations is major. For instance, biodigital-driven innovations can and indeed are contributing to realization of the following 9 UN Sustainability Goals: Zero Hunger, SDG 2, Good Health and Well-being, SDG 3, Clean Water and Sanitation, SDG 6, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure, SDG 9, Sustainable Cities and Communities, SDG 11, Responsible Consumption and Production, SDG 12, Climate Action, SDG 13, Life Below Water, SDG 14, and Life on Land, SDG 15. To address the complex topics described above, the technology report is structured as follows. Out of the 7 working groups of SEG 12, 6 have explored biodigital convergence and its current standardization landscape and have identified pertinent standardization opportunities. This overall scope is introduced in Section 1. Areas that have been explored include the reverse engineering of living systems, life systems and bioengineering, human augmentation technologies, agricultural bioengineering, environmental bioengineering and biodigital social, risk and ethical aspects. Understanding the machinery of life as well as structuring and codifying this acquired knowledge is a prerequisite for being able to engineer processes, devices and applications that are biological in nature or have a biological component. Section 2. Reverse engineering of living systems. The initial mandate of Working Group WG2 was thus to explore biodigital standardization opportunities for supporting the reverse engineering of living systems and systems of systems. This includes genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, metabolomics, informatics, microbiomes, neurosciences and synthetics. Section 3. Life systems and bioengineering for WG3. The task was to explore biodigital standardization opportunities in life systems and bioengineering. This includes biosensors, biometrics, biofoundries, bioprocessing, biofuels, drug discovery and engineering, synthetic biological circuit, metabolic engineering, genetic engineering, artificial life, organ-on-a-chip, book, and artificial organs and human digital twins. Section 4. Human augmentation technologies. WG4's mandate was to assess biodigital standardization opportunities in the area of human augmentation, an emerging and thriving field which is focused on replicating, recovering, supplementing, amplifying, or enhancing human abilities for both healthy users and people with disabilities. This has included brain-machine interfaces, digital hardware enhancement. 3. Executive summary. Ubiquitous and continual monitoring, enhanced strength, enhanced sensing, embodied computing, ambient intelligence, and biohacking. Section 5. Agricultural bioengineering. The domain of agricultural bioengineering was assigned to WG5. The initial mandate was to assess biodigital standardization opportunities in the bioengineering of agricultural systems and systems of systems, including forestry, aquaculture, livestock farming, cellular agriculture, and molecular farming. This includes Internet of Things applications, such as precision agriculture, embodied computing for animals, genetic engineering of food as well as UN Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Section 6. Environmental bioengineering. WG6 was given the mandate to explore biodigital standardization opportunities in the area of environmental systems of systems. This has included geoengineering, sustainability, and the following UN Sustainable Development Goals: SDG 13, Climate Action, SDG 14, Life Below Water, and SDG 15, Life on Land. WG6 had few participating members, thus limiting the depth of its assessment. Nevertheless, it was able to come up with some key findings. With all new technologies come opportunities, challenges and, in some cases, risks. This is the case with technologies arising from biodigital convergence. Ethical questions raised by many of these technologies are not only associated with their use, but also, given the current challenges of our global society, their non-use. Section 7. Biodigital Social Risks and Ethical Aspects. Seg 12 mandated its WG7 to explore a number of issues related to social risks, ethical aspects, resilience, and safety management, including data governance and related issues. Section 8 lists the recommendations of the working groups to the SMB as well as the results of the board's decisions concerning their adoption. What is biodigital convergence? Biodigital convergence is the interactive combination, sometimes to the point of merging, of digital and biological technologies and systems. Policy Horizons is examining 3 ways in which this convergence is happening. 1. Full physical integration of biological and digital entities. Digital technology can be embedded in organisms, and biological components can exist as parts of digital technologies. The physical meshing, manipulating, and merging of the biological and digital are creating new hybrid forms of life and technology, each functioning in the tangible world, often with heightened capabilities. 2. Co-evolution of biological and digital technologies. This type of biodigital convergence emerges when advances in one domain generate major advances in the other. The co-evolution of biological and digital sciences and technologies enables progress in each domain that would be impossible otherwise. This could lead to biological and digital technologies that are developed as integrated or complementary systems. Robots with biological brains 01 and biological bodies with digital brains 02 already exist, as do human-computer and brain-machine interfaces. 03 The medical use of digital devices in humans. 04 as well as digitally manipulated insects such as drone dragonflies. 05 and surveillance locusts. 06 are examples of digital technology being combined with biological entities. By tapping into the nervous system and manipulating neurons, tech can be added to an organism to alter its function and purpose. New human bodies and new senses of identity. 07 could arise as the convergence continues. Complex living systems, bacteria, fungi, plants, and animal life including humans, are increasingly subject to examination and understanding by digital tools and applications such as machine learning. This deeper understanding, enabled by digital technologies, means that biology is subject to influence and manipulation that was not possible a few years ago. 09. Exploring biodigital convergence. For example, gene sequencing combined with artificial intelligence, AI, leads to understanding genetic expression, which is then used to alter existing organisms to create organic compounds in new ways. 08 or even entirely synthetic organisms. 09 The CRISPR-Cas9 approach and other new gene editing techniques would have been impossible without the evolution of digital technology and bioinformatics. Advances in digital technologies have helped the advancement of the biodigital. 10 We also see a greater understanding of biology, which is fueling progress in the field of biological computing. Neural nets, computer systems that are designed based on biological brains, are an example of how biological understanding is shaping digital technology. There is also a blurring between what is considered natural or organic and what is digital, engineered, or synthetic. For example, biosynthetic vanilla is created using ferulic acid, eugenol, and glucose as substrates, and bacteria, fungi, and yeasts as microbial production hosts. Although it does not come from a vanilla plant, under both US and EU food legislation, its production from microbial transformations of natural precursors allows it to be labeled as a natural flavoring. 1110.3 Conceptual convergence of biological and digital systems. A third form of biodigital convergence involves a shift in perspective that could reshape our framing and approach to biological and digital realms, facilitating the blending of the two. As we continue to better understand and control the mechanisms that underlie biology, we could see a shift away from vitalism, the idea that living and non-living organisms are fundamentally different because they are thought to be governed by different principles. 12 Instead, the idea of biology as having predictable and digitally manageable characteristics may become increasingly common as a result of living in a biodigital age. Any student of biology today will have grown up in a digital world, and may consciously or subconsciously apply that frame of reference to bioinformatics and biology generally. From a digital perspective, we see a potential shift in the opposite direction. Computing began as a means of producing predictable, replicable, and relatively simple outcomes. As digital technology became more complex and connected, the system began to mimic the characteristics of the biological world, leading to the notion of technological ecosystems. Biological models are also being used to develop digital tools, such as AI based on neural nets. Goal 3. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Target 3.1 By 2030, reduce the global maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births. Target 3.2 By 2030, end preventable deaths of newborns and children under 5 years of age, with all countries aiming to reduce neonatal mortality to at least as low as 12 per 1,000 live births and under 5 mortality to at least as low as 25 per 1,000 live births. Target 3.3 By 2030, end the epidemics of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria and neglected tropical diseases and combat hepatitis, waterborne diseases and other communicable diseases. Target 3.4 By 2030, reduce by 1/3 premature mortality from non-communicable diseases through prevention and treatment and promote mental health and well-being. Target 3.5 Strengthen the prevention and treatment of substance abuse, including narcotic drug abuse and harmful use of alcohol. Target 3.6 By 2020, halve the number of global deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents. Target 3.7 By 2030, ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, including for family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. Target 3.8 Achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality essential healthcare services and access to safe, effective, quality and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all. Target 3.9 By 2030, substantially reduce the number of deaths and illnesses from hazardous chemicals and air, water and soil pollution and contamination. Target 3. Strengthen the implementation of the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control in all countries, as appropriate. Target 3B Support the research and development of vaccines and medicines for the communicable and non-communicable diseases that primarily affect developing transforming our world. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development ARES 70.1.17.35 countries provide access to affordable essential medicines and vaccines, in accordance with the Doha Declaration on the TRIPS Agreement and Public Health, which affirms the right of developing countries to use to the full the provisions in the Agreement on Trade, related aspects of intellectual property rights regarding flexibilities to protect public health, and, in particular, provide access to medicines for all. Target 3C Substantially increase health financing and the recruitment, development, training and retention of the health workforce in developing countries, especially in least developed countries and small island developing states. Target 3D Strengthen the capacity of all countries, in particular developing countries, for early warning, risk reduction and management of national and global health risks. Trends and future prospects of genome editing in human and plant health. International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. Genome editing technology. Genome editing is a recent technology that can be considered as an ultra-modern microsurgery on genes. It is an innovative technology that is booming in molecular biology laboratories. In 2015, experts considered it the breakthrough of the year and, given its precision, low costs and ease of use, it has become the model of the democratization of science. 1. Genome editing is a technology that generates DNA sequence variants at defined positions in a genome. This can happen either in the coding region for a protein, thus affecting its function, or in the promoter region to impact cell type specificity or timing of promoter activity. The best-known system in the genome editing toolbox is CRISPR-Cas9, for which Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna, the inventors of the genetic scissors, received the Nobel Prize in 2022. Alternative systems are transcription activator-like effector nucleases, TALENs, or zinc finger nucleases, ZFNs. All these editing tools target a specific sequence in the genome and induce a DNA double-strand break at the target site. Once the DNA is cut, the cell uses its own DNA repair machinery, consisting in two major mechanisms that occur in almost all cell types and organisms: homology-directed repair, HDR, and non-homologous end joining, NHEJ, resulting in targeted integration or gene disruption, respectively. 3. The ease of use, accuracy and efficiency of genome editing tools has led to their broad adoption in research, as well as to proof-of-concept applications in gene therapies involving non-reproductive, somatic cells. It is also possible to deploy genome editing in human germline cells, sperm and eggs, as well as in early embryos. Many stakeholder groups are debating this issue, which, for some, remains a line not to be crossed, whereas for others it provides possibilities for improving the human condition through the repair of deleterious genetic mutations. 4. However, the promise that genome editing offers in diverse areas of human health is immense, and will make SDG 3, health and well-being, attainable for many diseases which hitherto could not have been cured or prevented. The use of this frontier technology in ICGEB and the capacity building towards its constituency, particularly developing countries, is also perfectly aligned with SDG 10 by reducing inequalities across the globe. In plants, the situation with regard to genome editing appears similar to the issue of genetically modified organisms, where certain techniques applied to living, replicating organisms may result in genetically modified products that are risk assessed on a case-by-case basis before they are released into the environment or placed on the market. However, there has been no universal consensus yet as to whether products resulting from genome editing should be treated in the same manner as GMOs or whether another regulatory framework is to be applied. Over the past years, different countries have taken different paths along these two possible regulations. Therefore, before the edited lines can be introduced into breeding programs and used as a product, the country has to develop a legal regulatory framework. 5. However, there is huge potential for the technology to make massive impacts across the world, both in addressing SDG 2.0 hunger, where such technology will rapidly overtake traditional means of crop improvement. In addition, many countries face incredible challenges as a result of climate change. This technology offers unique opportunities for mitigating the effects of climate change in various aspects of the agricultural sector, thereby addressing SDGs 13 and 15. Uses of genome edition in human health. Potential benefits of genome editing for human health include faster and more accurate diagnosis, more targeted treatments, and prevention of genetic disorders. So far, ex vivo genome editing has been the most widely used approach. This entails genetic engineering of cells in vitro and their re-engraftment back to patients. In recent years, teams in China and in the United States have performed a series of clinical trials of gene editing, aimed at producing more effective CAR T cells for cancer treatment and the knockout of the erythroid-specific enhancer of BCL11A to a pregulate gamma globulin in autologous hematopoietic erythroid progenitors as a therapy for sickle cell disease and Greek letter beta thalassemia. 6. 7. In addition to the many benefits of genome editing, there are some technical challenges in translating these treatments to clinical disease therapy, primarily in terms of accuracy, efficacy, and delivery hurdles. Being a novel and sophisticated technology, not ready to be deployed in all countries, human genome editing has the intrinsic risk of fueling more health inequity between countries. It will therefore be essential to promote systems-level improvements to build capacity in all countries and ensure that human genome editing is used safely, effectively, and ethically. Indeed, this can only be achieved through appropriate enhancement of capacity in such technologies. Meeting SDG 4 for quality scientific education and SDG 9 to build industrial capability to make use of these technologies and foster appropriate innovation in the countries most in need. Uses of genome editing in plants. A new agricultural transformation is underway which aims at improving crop yields while using reduced levels of agrochemicals. Developing new abiotic and biotic-resistant varieties and finding alternatives for plant disease control and plant growth promotion are very important targets. 8. With the global population projected to arrive at 10 billion by 2050, today's agriculture will face enormous challenges, requiring crops with higher yields and of improved nutritional value, and needing fewer inputs being more sustainable. In addition, climate change is affecting crop yield due to the increase in temperatures as well as creating water shortages. At present, conventional breeding is the most widely used approach in crop improvement. However, it is labor-intensive and it takes a long time to go from the screens of the first crosses to arriving to commercial varieties. Genetically modified GMO crops have been and are being created with beneficial traits via the transfer of genes, transgenes, or gene elements of known function into elite crop varieties. Despite the success in certain countries and usefulness that GMO crops have for global food security, their use is affected by largely unproven health and environmental safety concerns. Consequently, the tangible advantages of GMO traits have been few and these are restricted to a small number of crops. Genome editing involves advanced molecular biology techniques that allows for precise, efficient, inexpensive and targeted modifications at the specific position in the plant genome. This technique can be used for gene knockout mutants as well as gene replacement, knock-in and insertion mutants which can be generated in a wide variety of plants, and many of these genome modifications can be useful for crop improvement. The potential and negligent risks involved in modifying genomes through genome editing technology are significantly lower than those of GMO crops because most changes consist of only a few nucleotides, producing changes similar to ones that routinely happen in naturally occurring populations. Therefore, the use of genome editing into modern breeding programs can revolutionize plant breeding via rapid, cheap and precise crop improvement. In summary, genome editing is an advanced molecular biology technique that can produce precisely targeted modifications in any crop and promises to play a key role in speeding up crop breeding and in meeting the ever-increasing global demand for food. In addition, government regulations and consumer acceptance are likely to be more welcoming towards the use of this new breeding technology. 8. The ICGEB experience and lessons learned. Messages for policymakers. Regulatory issues. The regulation of genome editing might be particularly difficult, because it is a platform technology that can be employed across multiple fields. Multiple agencies may be charged with setting regulation standards, and levels of societal concern may vary across contexts. Constant communication between the industrial, research and regulators communities has the potential to improve clarity in the regulatory process and render the system more efficient and predictable. Guidance documents are welcome to help engagement as products come close to regulatory milestones. Discussion around regulatory cooperation needs to be continued, deepened, and made more inclusive in order to find avenues for facilitating commercialization and diffusion of products and therapies across countries. Policies. A peculiar feature of genome editing is the degree of public interest and concern. This likely stems from the potential use of the technology not only for somatic therapies, but also for germline modification, or in the context of gene drive, which exploits selfish genetic elements that are transmitted to progeny at supraendothelion, 50%. Frequencies. 9. As policies and institutional capacities develop around the use of genome editing, these should serve as a model for policies in other areas of advanced therapies and emerging technologies for health. Public engagement. The degree of public interest and concern in genome editing underscores the need for public engagement at an early stage in the process of research and development. Engagement must be balanced, and stakeholders should avoid overselling the technology. A central lesson of systematic work on public engagement is that openness, transparency and participation are key. There is not a single public, but multiple publics that need to be engaged in different contexts, using different communication strategies. Meeting all of the above requires partnerships for goals through SDG 17, strong institutions for regulation and monitoring, thereby meeting SDG 16. In conclusion, genome editing will reduce the burden of disease, will mitigate the effects of climate change, will improve crop nutritional value, and provide crop resistance to various forms of biotic and abiotic stress, all of which goes directly towards addressing SDG 10 poverty.
Biodigital convergence is a vast, multidisciplinary field, covering everything from biomaterials to human augmentation. Mr. Coallier explained that to address this challenge, SEG 12 had set up 6 working groups to focus on different areas. The first of these, WG1, is responsible for communications activities, as well as drafting reports. WG2 is focusing on biodigital standardization opportunities for supporting the river engineering of living systems and systems of systems. This encompasses genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, metabolomics, informatics, microbiomics, neurosciences, and synthetics, among others. WG3 is looking at standardization opportunities in life systems and bioengineering. Topics covered include, but are not limited to, biosensors, biometrics, biofoundries, bioprocessing, biofuels, drug discovery and engineering, synthetic biological circuit, metabolic engineering, genetic engineering, artificial life, organ-on-chip, OC, and artificial organs. The work of WG4 is centered on biodigital standardization opportunities in the area of human augmentation. It includes brain-machine interfaces, digital hardware enhancement, ubiquitous and continual monitoring, enhanced strength, enhanced sensing, embodied computing, ambient intelligence, and biohacking. WG5 is tasked with exploring biodigital standardization opportunities in the bioengineering of agricultural systems and systems of systems, including forestry, aquaculture, livestock farming, cellular agriculture, and molecular farming. Topics covered include Internet of Things applications such as precision agriculture, as well as embodied computing for animals, and the genetic engineering of food, in the framework of achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal of Zero Hunger. WG6 is concentrating on biodigital standardization opportunities in the area of environmental systems of systems. Topics covered include geoengineering, sustainability, and the UN SDGs related to climate action, life below water and life on land. Finally, WG7 is looking into the social, risks, and ethical aspects related to biodigital convergence. Mr. Coallier said that in addition to cooperating closely with the IEC Market Strategy Board, MSB, SEG 12 was working with experts from ISO and the Joint IEC and ISO Technical Committee, JTC1, in addition to the European Standards Development Organization CN and CENELEC, and several other international organizations. He added that the multidisciplinary aspects of SEG 12's work meant that further expertise would be required in areas such as agriculture. The SMB thanked Mr. Coallier and welcomed the ongoing work in SEG 12 on terminology. The SMB also acknowledged the strategic importance of bioengineering when planning future IEC technical activities. Creation date 2024. Scope: ISO IEC JSyC BDC is being supported administratively by IEC. All information related to ISO IEC JSyC BDC is available on the IEC website. Systems level standardization activities in the domain of biodigital convergence for the IEC and ISO, including ISO IE CJTC1 and IEC ISO JTC3. Facilitate outreach and engagement for the work on biodigital convergence with ISO, other SDOs, and industry consortia, in collaboration with relevant IEC and ISO entities, and thus facilitate the advancement and coordination of biodigital convergence standardization, collection, evaluation, and classification of existing standards that are relevant in the field of BDC, identification of gaps, identify and assess potential forthcoming new biodigital convergence topics and problematics that may become relevant to IEC and ISO activities, and recommend to the IEC, SMB, and the ISO TMB an appropriate course of action to meet the needs of the global community. Biodigital convergence technology is essentially the integration of biotechnology and digital technology. The merging of these technologies, also together with nanotechnology, can create innovative new technologies. It is a rapidly evolving field that holds great promise for a wide range of applications, including the sensor system. Biotechnology provides the sensor with excellent sensing elements, which allows an extremely selective and sensitive interaction with specific target molecules. Then these elaborative binding events affect the electrical properties of the transistor, resulting in a high discrimination ability. Nanotechnology provides the transistor with excellent electrical properties, which allows the development of new and improved electrical sensing platforms, which can be also assembled as an array and used for multiplex detection. Digital technology contributes to the signal processing and pattern analysis in the sensor system. This focus session will cover the newly developed sophisticated biodigital convergence technology for a sensor system. Genetic editing, GE, can help achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 3, which is to promote good health and well-being. GE can be used to improve human health, develop more nutritious foods, and create more sustainable agriculture. Clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, CRISPRs, CRISPR associated protein 9, Cas9, therapy is a revolutionary treatment approach that allows scientists to selectively modify a living organism's DNA. 1. The gene editing technology involves two essential components: a guide RNA to match a target gene, and Cas9, which is an endonuclease that causes a double-stranded DNA break that allows modifications to the genome. 12. With this system, scientists are finding new potential treatments for genetic disorders and diseases. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has approved several gene editing therapies, including Casgevy, the first FDA-approved CRISPR-based gene editing therapy for sickle cell disease (SCD). Casgevy was approved in December 2023. Lyfgenia, a lentiviral gene therapy for SED that was approved in December 2023. Gene therapy for children with metachromatic leukodystrophy. The FDA approved the first gene therapy for this condition. Casgevy TM Exagamglogene autotemcel, approved for the treatment of transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia. The FDA Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CBER, regulates gene therapy products. The CBER uses the Public Health Service Act and the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to oversee these products.
So there was a Tory cast in which she played some music. I had reposted it last week, and it's from February 12th. A White Swan event is a planned event, because I was getting at her chat for being so ridiculous with not admitting the anatomy and forcing the issue. Focus. How? Just tell me how. We hooked everyone to the cloud and handed out remote access in 1995. Made it commercial by 2005. Load balanced the electromagnetic, magnetic, plasmonic, tunable air molecules, made a whole new chart of elements for the quantum, just to play with the metamaterials in 2011. Commercial. Didn't tell anybody except Carrie Majay and friends and anybody else bone doctors, crypto, commercial. Good night, Barnaby Jack. It's not easier to hack a human than a car. Software-defined networking, no different than SEO, search engine optimization. Make it all pay for play at the routing table level. Have some fun. Nowhere to go, nowhere to run, no way to communicate, nobody knows what's happening. So, when you hear me this morning and I'm like, yo, you're all fucked if you don't tell them the truth about they're already inside of you watching you because they've weaponized your own anatomy against you. Which was Fauci's original plan with the IBM when I worked at Whitewater. And then, for those of you that are still, I gotta have something I can show my relatives. Well, now you do. It's on the YouTube with the hillbilly heart. And then, the rest of you hanging around here in Tennessee, no fear. Remember, that Mothman sitting around somewhere with his Coke can, smoking a cigarette, just waiting for one of you dumbass low-level cryptids that live here on the bottom of this delta to come fuck around and find out. My grandpa's sister, her name is Mert in our family. She lives in Columbus. Her husband taught Shotokan. My cousin, I ain't gonna say names. They've been on the bottom end of that city since I was little. I warned your Yachpot and her Mason fucked up family. I warned them when I was there. I'm like, we got to figure this out. So I made the directive sign. I was using markers trying to read her college textbooks. But your Mason nerds are full of Masons. They're not interested. They don't want anything to change. They don't want anybody to know about that body part, which is exactly what I watched when I was little with the local police chief in Colfax, Wisconsin. We ain't ever going to tell on these remotes. What are we going to do? Carrie versus Flynn? So, like clockwork, a white swan event is one that is planned. And I said in my morning piece, I'm like, it just seems to me that there is a calendar here that y'all have lied about out of fear. If you don't have a high enough clearance, if your genetics don't mean shit to whatever they're doing, you're dead from the inside out. Then I found out about all the internal warfare, brain-computer interface, as far as the torture going on, incredible levels. And everybody looking at me, well, you're still there. I fight for my life every fucking day, and I did it in front of you day after day after day for 2 straight years, and everybody got to humiliate me, watch me in tears, and what the fuck did we get for it? Less fear. So, I was right. Everybody else was lying. And because I gave respect, because I believe in hospitality everywhere, the only person that I've found so far who is technically, biologically, spiritually, in my opinion, and psychologically accurate is Tori. From Tori Says, she's surrounded by a bunch of people that want to make money and fuck around. And she even said in that podcast, and I reacted, I was like, really, you didn't know? That's because I've been around Trump. I know some of these people from when I was 14 years old. And I am not interested in talking about it, asking questions about it, because in the past, it doesn't matter. When my friend Tater Tot sent me a link to this really cool guy who was legitimately pissed in all the healthy ways, which made me feel better. He's a former spy. He said some things, and I went, oh, that makes sense. So they have a White Swan event planned, but you fucking idiots watching InfoWars with the Masons and COINTEL, QIntel, blah, 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 you have a Black Swan event planned because you didn't tell anybody about the real super soldier programs, which is these hydrogels, BCI.
The National Nanotechnology Initiative, or NNI, has released a new video documentary highlighting the past 20 years entitled NNI Retrospective Video, Creating a National Initiative. The video documents how an international science and technological endeavor was set in motion by the creation of the National Nanotechnology Initiative in 2000.
One of the main outcomes of the NNI after 20 years of federal investment is one of the key technologies that was needed for these mRNA vaccines. So if you got a Pfizer vaccine or a Moderna vaccine, the only reason that worked is a nanotechnology called lipid nanoparticles. If you got a Pfizer vaccine or a Moderna vaccine, the only reason that worked is a nanotechnology called lipid nanoparticles.
Which is what I fucking said. But you're all dicking around with machine interface, meaning you can get cut off at any time. Then you're dicking around with brain-computer interface, you can be cut off at any time. Then you're dicking around with bio-interface, biological networks, DISDAR dolls, non-invasive N3, tethered out on bio networks with the WSN again, and you can get cut off. I don't have that. And I'll bet you Tori doesn't have it either. Erlangen. Nicht Erlangen. Yeah, that's body machine interface. Now, look, all I'm putting out here is a little cybersecurity conjecture based off of network architecture, okay? If I'm the NSA or some secret organization, I'm sure, because the NSA's been out there too long, they're already compromised. That's why the OSS was there and you didn't know it for a decade. The NSA was there, you didn't know it for a decade, blah, blah, blah. I've already told everybody the truth as far as if you don't tell them that it's a body part, our youth, everyone. I watched another video on the Rumble Dads channel this morning. I'll put the link here. These young people, 25, 24, they're just so excited with synthetic biology.
iGEM stands for the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition. It's a global synthetic biology competition that brings together teams from all around the world to compete in essentially engineering organisms to have new functions. Our project this year was to use a co-culture system of bacteria and yeast to synthesize plant-derived compounds more efficiently. A lot of the compounds, like medicinal or used in cosmetics, all of these are extracted from plants, and we want to find a way that's more sustainable and reliable.
So we created a 3D printer, which prints hydrogels, which has our E. coli and yeast that We created a 3D printer, which prints hydrogels, which has our E. coli and yeast that has engineered pathways within it so that it can function to make the enzymes that produce our end product.
The yeast cultures that they grow and use for these electroceuticals, that's why Rumble Dad keeps pointing back to it. It's your gut-brain axis. Now you don't have a digestive system anymore that's growing anything less than what they want it to, but welcome to your Alien movie with xenobots. That's synthetic biology. And that synthetic biology, like Celeste Salem showed everyone, they had little racing games between themselves with their Lego bricks. That's your nanotech, putting it up and down like little transformers inside of you, your blood, bone, and tissue. So I posted that this morning too with taxonomy. That way you don't have to fucking wonder. You can go read about it. The Markov chain and the chaos math for your Monte Carlo simulation, that's what my great uncle Rex, who survived the Battle of the Bulge, was involved in with McDonnell Douglas. That was my grandfather's brother, and his sister still lives in Columbus. If there's a move in our alphabet agencies to tell the truth about what we've really done for the last 60 years, Lockheed, Keyhole, Gambit, keystroking along, I'd like to see it. And I know when I'll see it, we'll be fine. More than fine. It's the 4D. No, it's the electromagnetic spectrum, our stupid eyeballs, which are limited to a slit sliver can't see. That's all it is. That means it's all around us, just like the fucking wireless no one can see. And that's why your young nerds won't talk about it, the intracellular networking. So now we've had 5 years exponentiating the nano, and technically 7 years since the cyber physical backbone upgrade. to disconnect the radio frequency because it's not secure by cybersecurity to and from the body for precision AI healthcare. If we're going to make a change, said Professor Akhildes, you could die. Panacea discussion. That's right.
At the beginning, you mentioned the network is two-way. So if the network communication is two-way and we can reprogram the bacteria we are putting inside the body, we have a huge risk of security over there.
This part is the cyber world, right? So now, of course, that's really very, very important that somebody will send all the wrong information and it can create a zombie, right? All the device inside can malfunction, right? So it's very, very important that who is transmitting or who is reprogramming that, right? So of course, it's very important.
And somebody, in fact, can cut the communication with the internet and like a man in the middle attack and come to the near field communication and reprogram it. And this is a huge attack.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's very likely, and that's why it's extremely important, that part I kept saying about security, right, in the cyberspace. So that's an open issue, and hopefully people will behave nicely, but that's not the case, unfortunately. You're right. So now somebody can come and then really reprogram you and kill you even.
Not only you, maybe others also.
Yeah. I mean, you meaning like many people. Yeah,
right? Because I am the person from the cybersecurity perspective. This is why it came to my interest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you really believe, those of you moron class that are sucking cock endlessly like a nipple on a boar, doctors. Okay, so you believe these same people who set this up by law, FCC, are going to actually let their precision AI healthcare and electroceuticals for them and their friends not be secure enough so they don't die?
So now somebody can come and then really reprogram you and kill you even.
Not only you, maybe others also.
See, you'll get fucked up left, right, and center, but they're going to be A-OK, like Elysium in the sky, Gattaca style. Right. So that to me spells out the cybersecurity fighting going on in the alphabet agencies when Tori played the video, because that's what I've been looking at, watching them do. And I noticed that the bigger head creators via the Rumble Dad, who was out there before me fighting the Biodigital Convergence, he's like, these people won't talk. And I'm like, there's a reason for that. I'll put it this way, because I have numerous examples. Karen Kingston and her bloody sheets. There's a reason why they don't talk, right? Everybody plays stupid with the Gladio NATO stuff. Everybody plays stupid with the blue box. And I'm very disappointed in our veterans. It seems to me they're all humped up under lookout for Charlie. We'll lose them all. That's it. Situational awareness is taught to our Delta Force SEALs and whatever else for as long as I've known, and further because I read books and my grandfather read Louis L'Amour, has always been about that biofield. Even stupid Alex Jones tells you. Yeah, I'm calling you stupid? No, you've completely lost me now. I can hear you like fucking full on if I want to with the good old boys club. You're just lapping it up over there. You're welcome. So that you can lead them right into the fires. And you guys, you, Big Bear, and the other feeder grids with Malfoy, you're the first ones up on the BIS 12 set, rearrange it, make them states disconnected again. Hunger Games grid. It's called the Global Information Grid. It's on the ass end of the Defense Information Systems Network that routes all of our networks, period. And that includes SIPRNet, NIPRNet, and all your secret clearances above your queue. DOE, NASA, NSF. I'll keep fucking naming names. Thank you. So, that's where we're at. Everything that they wanted to herd people into for that banking system, they have it because they use the truther community to get it into everyone based on whatever regime regimen you were using. What I found in 2018 was that if it wasn't full-on fasting from everything, even my albuterol, everything, I have my plasma energy water that helped me change out my cell structure differently, and that was very helpful because you're not ingesting the nano. It's a water molecule. Your body takes what it needs, spits out the rest. Terral 03 is silver water. Body takes what it needs, spits out the rest. So, to me, I'm like, well, if it's nothing but fasting and prayer, and obviously I still drink water, that's what worked since 2018 each time. Then I can hear it clear as a bell, stand next to Hillbilly Heart, and when there's no plane, I can hear before it comes, just like Raytheon. It's the wireless, and I can hear it. Body, machine, interface, disconnected for me because I'm a non-invasive N2. That's why this is why they keep a safe distance, because the moment they come up on me in a way with their General Hayden 6-day, they know that I'm watching 18 or better. I had to stop myself from saying the equation. Emitting the equation. She talks in CLI, the wireless sensor networks do. And you guys use, what again? Vocal commands. How do you ask your Siri to play a song? You need to read those documents on the drones and how they fly drone swarms with their mind and stop thinking they're big enough to be seen. Then realize that's embedded in their bloodstream. And when they move their bone and piloerect, they don't need to piloerect. They use the terahertz to electrocute, reach an air molecule, reach inside of you, and good night. It's only a black swan event to the people that lied about the human anatomy. With the terahertz inside. D-wave chairs that vibrate your molecules with cymatics into very specific submission with gold and silver. Now that hasn't changed since the 1500s. And then you have everybody else slow walking all this discussion about history and groups of people. Can we please focus on human anatomy and telling people how? Gotta clean my iPad. These systems actually work. The emperor has no biofield. You have a body part tied up in this. They took it away. They're never going to give it back. That's the point of their stealth attack. So if our big-headed creators who think they're so smart and they're still afraid to speak out openly because they're not a doctor, yeah, well, your physicians are frauds. 80% of the immune system by the human organs involved is in that biological, biochemical, electrical, electromagnetic field that everybody emits. And I said this a long time ago. Those of you that lie when I said crap and ham sandwiches, I also said, you're going to jump in that bullpen? Bullshit. You're going to be cautious and you're going to feel things. And that's what you've done to people. You've separated them from their ability to feel anything. Stare at the screen. Bill Gates is God. Only believe in the screen, which is what your eyeballs see. And now virtual reality, because there's no God but you. Which is why you need to tell people it's their own blood, bone, and tissue that is harvesting, growing the pathogens, and throwing it at other people. And because you've given them, by the last 5 years of lying about Tori and lying about me for 2 years, and any of us who stood up to you, now they've had time to exponentiate and make their systems even better. It is not a 3-point pulse. They don't need a line of sight. All they need is your body next to another body. And they don't need radio frequency. Not at all. You need to read And you need to stop lying to yourself and other people, pretending that the Department of Defense would leave you out because you're oh so special. Everybody has a biological field. Everybody has a biofield. 6,000 years of human anatomy with your vasculature didn't change either. So, the only way is through. That means people need to know what to do. And in my very first PDF I wrote, you're going to have to believe in drone warfare. How you feeling about that now? So if it's good enough for the Green Beret, and it's good enough for the SEALs, and it's good enough for them to be real, a real piece of human anatomy to train with, what are you doing to yourself? If it's good enough for law enforcement people to manipulate and have little radio frequency psychotronic bullshit in their pockets since the Rodney King riots, what are you doing to yourself? Telling yourself, oh yeah, they're going to use the same products that Duncan lied about from the 40s, scaring you with Tammy and all this garbage. The BCI, brain-computer interface, that these people have been playing with at lower levels of security, cybersecurity, security in general. You don't give your biggest badass toys to the idiot boys. You give them some coloring books and fake hand signals and tell them to keep playing with themselves and their brain. So that's great for them, but if we need 3% of people to wake up immediately, it's real simple: biomedical telemetry, precision AI healthcare, electroceuticals, bioelectronics. Tell me how. IEEE article, turning your body into a wire. That's how. And that's not radio frequency. It says right there, we're using your natural intragalvanic energy. That's right. Emitted by your photons, your DNA, and your own biological field. Now, that's a body part. And I don't know anybody, I haven't found one yet, that said, yeah, I want you to give a remote to my entire body to some rando that can do whatever they want at any time for your health. Yeah. So that's why the Emperor has no biofield. And I don't care who you are and who you think you are or what you know. If you can't explain that to people, just that right there, we got nowhere to go. Because they're not going to tell the truth about the nano, and they're not going to stop lying about their radio frequency LiDAR toys. Because I warned you a year when I first came on the scene. I said these boys have been in the Air Force and other places. Everybody, not just the Air Force. They've all been building this crap so they can have a fake space war. Now, you really think these men that are not men, they're neoteny, they're little boys permanently, adolescent. They grew up on Star Wars, and they're in their 40s and 50s. All they want to do is fly their little space toys and look like gods. They don't care if they blow up. Most of them are in so much pain and fucked up from sitting at a desk all their life. All they care about is just having their last hurrah. It's all worth it to them. So using our truther community to fill people with all these other ways of biosensors quietly without telling them, and then using anyone in the prepping communities to lie about what the police were really doing while getting rid of anyone who would tell the truth. Same thing they did with the doctors and nurses. No matter what. Being fixated on color, migrants, none of that is going to help. Not a fucking bit of it. That's why I always talk to people like we're out here on the porch, because we are. That fat piece of shit took $300 and wouldn't tell you that's your own anatomy. Point blank, here's the Wikipedia. And then he bitches about a trot line because he's surrounded by sensor hunter button pushers. They're not going to go to war with one another. They're going to make you kill each other with stupid people. And I'm hoping that what they're trying to do with Trump is some big final hurrah of getting those that care. But I don't think that's there. I mean, I can't even say it, so I'm not buying into that. Whatever they're doing, maybe they're threatening one another, gambits, different ways to try to pull the power out from under the same people who put all this in place. All you had to do was tell the truth about the intragalvanic current to the body, and that your ubiquitous C40 cities are built off of exactly that to keep you in prison, geofence style. That's all you had to do. And you could have told them about, harvesting their pathogens, but Attorney Todd Callender did. Pathogen database of the Department of Defense, which is why it's not a 3-point pulse. Because they're going to turn off that radio frequency. They don't need the 5G. They already have the metamaterials and the biofield analysis concurrence to do it. You lied about the biological networks, Bi-Fi, and all the others. And that's why it's so mission critical now to keep it simple. Do you shit ham sandwiches? Does your lunch go in your mouth and come out your butt the same way? No. Would you jump in that bullpen? No. So we need to start being very real with empathy, telepathy, and the way that it functions in the body, because just neurons. And your 501c3 cult leaders, they can't be bothered. They'll tell you you're evil and run you off. From the same body part Jesus had. Jesus was a man, whether you believe in him or not. He had a biofield, and he knew how to use it, just like King David did. When you lie about God's creation, when you lie about plasma physics, or plasmonics and material physics, okay? See what I did there? For people who have a faith, and how about the atheists? They're not stupid. They've seen enough sci-fi movies. This is ridiculous, dangerous, death. And you let it go on for 5 years of gaslighting us, telling us to put our mask on. And now your death dealers are biomedical engineers with remote access through the Department of Energy. I was right about those Scorpius and Zeus apps. You're lucky I'm not near my computer. Ebola and all the rest, that's right. Because the pathogens are inside of the people you live with or the people across the street. Computer networking, game theory, and load balancing through bodies. They told you shedding. I warned you before they started saying shedding. I'm like, this is load balancing between body area networks. You go to Wikipedia and you look at the little graph, and a band has a bunch of networks out of there. Which is why we have front haul and back haul and all the different ways to mess the G's back and forth. Yeah? With what? OSA. I ain't dying for you, and I'm not going to make a fool of myself or anyone else by continuing to pretend that there's some big grand master plan here. People are too afraid to talk. So get your fucking mouths moving the right direction. Everybody got a body part. How do you use yours? That's the important dialogue now. All the things that you do, whether it's Faraday, EMF, all the rest, those things to a lighter degree, Lighther, you go ahead. But the only way to beat this internal shit is to be able to feel it. Tell them how. Tell them it's human anatomy. The Emperor has no biofield. Buffy stabs Edward the end. Have a good day.